Alright, so I have a little bit over 600 miles, I think 620 miles or something like that. So it's time to check the valves and probably needs adjustment. So let's see, what do you need to do for that? Need to, I'm going to show you two different ways of doing it, okay? I'm going to show you the proper way first, then I show you the other way that I usually do. I don't usually do it the proper way, right? Not the proper way, but the other way, because I'm lazy basically. All right. So either case, you got to start off with the spark plug side. Now you don't have to take out the spark plug, but it's best you do because the spark plug, you know, it has the compression on there, so it makes it harder to turn over the engine. So you take out the spark plug out, so that way, you know, there's no compression, and you could turn the engine easily. And this is true with most anything really, most any engine. It's best to take the spark plug out, so that way the compression isn't against you. So actually, before I get started on that, let's look at the spark plug. It looks good. It looks the ceramic, the porcelain looks pretty white. I see a very slight hint of brown on it, but just barely though. The electrode itself looks good, nice and sharp. It looks brown. Everything looks good. So the fueling looks all right. You know, all these modern motors, they all run kind of lean because of emissions regulations. Right. So here. So again, I'm gonna show you the proper way of doing it first. Alright, so got that off. Now I want to take off these two right here. This is a 6mm and this is a 10mm. So this is how you check your the timing on it. So that one right there. This one right here. That one's really light. And these are, these are just covers, with O-rings on them. So don't overdo it. All right. So there's a cover with the O-ring. One side with the other one right here. Cover. Oh, the O-ring's still sitting there, so that's fine. I'm just gonna leave it there. Okay. So two things we're gonna look at here. When we look into this, let's see, try to get as close as I can without the camera being in my way. Yeah, you guys won't be able to see this one in here anyways. I don't think you can. So that one is let me see what size that is. I think that's a it looks like a 17 or maybe even a 19. Let's see what size that is. So I have a 17 right here. Yep, so that's a 17, so same size as your oil drain plug. I'm gonna turn that. Basically, I'm gonna turn that so it's so I'm looking here. I'm looking for the timing mark. It should be indicated with a T. And this is why you have to take off the spark plug, because if the spark plug's in the way, man, it's really hard to turn because you're fighting the compression. Oh, there it is. So I see a T and an F. So the F is where it's the firing, and the T is where the top dead center is. So what you do is on the thread on here, on the looks like what was it, like the 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock position, there's like a little notch. Okay, so you line up the notch of the T to the notch on that 10, 11 o'clock position. So line up those two. Oops, that's too much. And it's only a few degrees difference between top dead center and firing. So firing's right there. So that's F right there, firing. Then top dead is right there. So it's only a few degrees. Okay. Oops, I went too far. All right. Oops, too far there. So the thing about top dead center is that how the nature of especially a single cylinder, the nature of the piston being right at the top dead center, it doesn't really like to stay right there. It tends to like either drop down before or after the top dead center. So it's always, you know, you always kind of teeter totters with there. It's like a teeter totter point for it. So that's why it's very hard to keep it right at the spot. So to really, you know, realistically, you don't need to keep it right there, dead on at that spot. You don't need to do that. It's I think it's unnecessary. So let me show you the easy way. So the easy way, no, actually no, I can't show you the easy way yet. Actually, this was easy. I don't know why I don't do it this way. I think this is actually easier than the other way, but there is another way. So let me show you that in a minute. I have to take off the valve covers first. So the valve spec here, intake is 4,000, give or take 1,000, and the exhaust is 7,000, give or take 1,000. Okay. So let's do the top side first. Let's see if I could do this without the camera being in my way. It's like literally right in my face there. That's the thing about running the camera. I always, oops, I just hit the camera. It's always in your way all the time, constantly. So I got my little 8mm here. Oh, that's tight. Okay, 8mm. Oh, hit the camera again and again. Okay. Where's my rag? Let me grab my rag. Okay. Rag in my hand. Okay. So let's take these bolts out. One bolt. Another bolt. So this being the top, you don't have to worry about oil spilling out because it's already, you know, whatever the oil's up here, it already dripped down, so no worries there. So underneath this thing, there's an O-ring. You see the O-ring right there? All right. So be mindful of the O-ring. Don't damage it. I'm looking it over. I'm looking over the O-ring, and it looks safe. It looks fine. It looks nice and clean. I'm just gonna leave it like this. Don't touch it. All right. See a little bit of wetness here, but that's because just, you know, about half an hour ago, I actually I sprayed the surrounding area here, both the top and bottom, with Simple Green, and I wiped it off, you know, and I brushed it with a toothbrush because I don't want to. Because anytime I break a seal, around the area of the seal, I want to clean it so that way I don't want any dirt there to get in. Okay. So here you have a lock nut tappet. I think that's what they call it, tappet setup. So I used to do this the hard way, using an adjustable wrench, because right in the middle here, the center, there's a square drive, or excuse me, a square nut, and over here there's a hex nut. So I used to do the hard way, use an open end wrench to hold this center, and use a whatever size this is. I think this is neither a 9mm or a 10mm. So here I have an actual tool. This one is made by Motion Pro, I think. Actually, you know what? No, this is not Motion Pro. This is like this is neither made from Daytona or Kitako or, you know, one of the Japanese brands. But anyways, Motion Pro makes one as well. Actually, let me double check, see what size this nut is a bit in here. So this is a 10mm, and that's too big. This one's 8mm, and that one is too small. Yeah, so that nut inside is a 9mm. Right. So anyway, so now I'm at top dead center, so I'm good there. I don't need to loosen nothing up yet. So here are my filler gauges. I need to get the 4,000th. Right, so this is 4,000th. Oh, what the hell? This thing doesn't have a. Okay, that's kind of dumb. This thing doesn't have a freaking 4,000th. It only has, the smallest one is the 5,000th. Okay, that's really dumb. So anyways, it's 4,000th. 4,000th, give or take 1,000th. So I'm gonna do it the go no go method, meaning 4,000 should squeeze in and 5,000 shouldn't. So I'm gonna try the 5,000 first. Oh, yeah, that's definitely tight. It's not gonna go in. Yep, it's not gonna go in. That's tight. So when every time you try this, you should always, the valve, the lock nut and the two ends there, it's like so. And when you slide your feeler gauge in, you have to make sure that the two that's up here, there's a little bit of slop, right? When you slide your feeler gauge in, you have to make sure that the feeler gauge goes in pretty much parallel with the other two, so that way it slides in smoothly. Because if you go at an angle, it actually makes it harder to go in, and doesn't want to go in, and it feels like, oh yeah, it's too tight. But in reality, if you adjust it, it'll go right in. And that might be too loose. Same thing when you're actually in here and feeling it. If you're actually in there and you put too much angle to the feeler gauge, it will actually bind up, and it feels like it's too tight, but it's not. So you have to make sure the angle is right. Okay. So I need to go get my smaller feeler gauge, my other set, because this one only goes down to 5 thousandths. I didn't realize that. I thought this one went down to 4 thousandths. Let me double check on here sometimes, because I take these things off when I use them, so maybe I have them in a missing spot. Nope, nothing in here. Okay, so you gotta stay tuned for a second, or for you for a second, for me a few minutes. All right, so I'm back. Got my two feeler gauge, 4 and 5. So basically go, no go. So I know the 5 was a no go, so I had a different one. I had a different 5, but the angled one. So let me try this one. It shouldn't, okay, so it's a no go. So definitely tight. So number 4, see how this one goes in. Oh, this one's tight too. Look at that. That right there is a no go. Right? Yeah. So the valves are tight, essentially. Okay, so that's good. That means I have to adjust it. So I have my again, my little tool wrench thing involved in here. So I'm just gonna loosen this up like that. So now it's loose. Right? I get my 4 thousandths and I actually put it in here. Again, it's tight. It's tight in there. So put my other one in here. And why does it feel so tight? Is my timing not right? Let me double check my timing, because it feels really tight. You know what? I think I have it wrong, because I've got to go back here. Because when you do the timing here, there's actually 2 top dead centers. There's a top dead center at the exhaust stroke, and a top dead center at the power stroke. So I think I had the power stroke, so I had the wrong stroke. So actually, anyways, I already loosened it up, so it's too late for that. So let me spin this thing all the way around. So if you do have that, spin it all the way around until you get back to the timing mark, or the top dead center, which is right about, oops. So I'm glad I made that mistake, because that potentially could happen. And one way you could test it is you can always stick like a pencil or a screwdriver or something, a thin one, into the spark plug hole over here, and you should feel the piston right at the top. If you don't, then it's not at the right spot. So I spun my timing mark all the way back around. Let's see here. Okay, now it's totally loose. Look at that, it's totally loose, and that's because I had loosened it earlier. So I actually, in reality, I actually don't know if the previous setting was actually right or not. So dang, I should have double checked. And funny thing is, I know better. Of all people that's doing this, I should know better. So yeah, I'm just tightening this thing a little bit. So now it's too tight. It pinches the feeler gauge. Back it off a little bit. Now I'm moving the feeler gauge. All right. If it's too much, it wiggles too easily. Now it's too tight. It's like doesn't move much. All right. So I think like right there feels pretty good. So that's kind of the quick way of doing it, real fast. And you put this in here. So now we can tighten it up, essentially. Where's that? Oh, there it is. Wasn't catching for a moment there. Okay, so let's try that again. Let's bring this up again. Try it again. So bring my camera back, it's too close. There we go. So I'm feeling the feeler gauge. It's loose right now. Tighten it up. Oops, too tight. Just a little bit. It's a tiny little bit of movement. You know, it's not much. See that movement right there is too much. Okay, now it's too tight. A little bit less. It's too loose. Oops, too tight. Right there. What you want is you want a very light drag. How light of a drag? It should feel like the drag should feel like if you were, let's say my finger here was a piece of paper and you were to squeeze the, pinch your paper with your index and thumb, and if you're pulling on the paper, there should be some resistance, but it's not so tight where it's too where it doesn't slide easily, and if it's like jerky, when you're pulling it, it's like jerky. That means it's a little bit too tight. So same thing with the feeler gauge. So there's good. Tightening it up, and also now it's jerky. It's too tight, so when I move it, it feels jerky. So that's too much. Right there's good. Too tight. Right there's good. Okay, right there's good. I'm gonna leave the feeler gauge right there. I'm gonna try as best I can hold my my adjustment knob right here in place so it doesn't move while I tighten up my my nut. Let's see. Oops, it moved. So this is the hardest part right here. Is every time you tighten up the adjustment nut, this knob right here tends to move. So right there it feels a little loose, but let me tighten it up the nut and see if that knob moves at all. It usually does. So well, let's see. Yeah, and it did move. So it's a little bit on the tight side there, I would still say. It goes in, but it's slightly jerky. Slightly jerky. It's a little bit. Let me try the 5. And the 5 is a no-go. Doesn't fit. So that's good. So that means it's not too big. Alright. But here I still find that it's a little bit on the jerky side, so I don't like that. Yeah, as I'm moving it in and out, I can feel it it's instead of moving in nice and slow and smoothly, it's like jerky. So I don't like that. I think when it's like that, I think it's a little bit on the tight side. So, and now it's gonna be loose again because, again, every time you you tighten up the knob and loosen it up, this always moves a little bit. So you have to kind of compensate for that. And start out with a slightly looser. It's a little bit looser. Okay, that feels pretty good. Actually, it might feel a little bit too loose. Let's try the 5. So 5 is tight. 5 goes in. It actually goes in, but it goes in and it's jerky. Yeah, it goes in. It's definitely tight and it's jerky. So I think the 4 on this case, it was a little bit just a little bit too loose. Yeah, it's too easy. I feel like almost no resistance. So that's a little bit too loose there. So basically, you keep on doing this. You gotta do it a few times until you get it just right. Oh, it feels the same. Actually, it feels even looser. That actually felt looser than the last one. Yeah, it's definitely looser. Now my 5 is actually not jerky at all. So let's do that again. It's too jerky. So when the lock nut is loose, and it's jerky, that means if you tighten it up, it will definitely be too tight. So let's get this so that way it doesn't have that jerkiness. So it's probably a little bit on the loose side right there. Let's see if I can tighten this up, and it becomes just right. Nope, that's too tight. Dang it. The camera's like right in my way. It's like right in the way of my wrist. I can't have a proper. I don't have the proper angle to give me fine control of this. See, it's like right in my way, so I don't have. So my wrist angle is really awkward. I don't have fine control of this tool here. Oh, it's too tight. I'll get that tight. Let's sit down. Let's keep it at that spot. Stay loose. That's good. Still too loose, I think. I feel a little bit of resistance, but hardly any resistance though. Oh, actually, that's just right. Okay, the 5's not going in. Oh, yeah, it just went in. But it's like I have to like really force in the 5. Whereas the 4, I feel very light resistance. I would prefer more resistance though. I would prefer the 4 to have a little bit more resistance. But that's alright. I'm gonna call it good. I'm gonna call that good, and that's it. So do the same thing with the bottom, but instead of 4 thousandths, it's gonna be 7 thousandths. Okay, so when you put this back, make sure you everything's nice and clean. Check your O-ring. Okay, and put the spark plug back and put the caps back. Oh, I forgot to show you the easy way. So the easy way, instead of using here, is you actually, instead of opening these up, you actually have it in gear and you spin the wheel. And you have to have the spark plug off on this side. And you put something in there like a screwdriver or a pencil or a pin or something, and you feel for the piston to get to top dead center. Once you feel that, then you can check here, but you don't know which top dead center it is. You don't know if it's a top dead center at the firing or top dead center at the exhaust stroke. So if it's you have it feeling that top dead center up there and it's tight here, you might spin it around again until it top dead centers the second time, then double check here. So that's how you do it the other way. Instead of using the 2 right here, you're spinning the wheels. But actually, I think in this case, because everything is so accessible, spinning the wheel is probably harder than doing it from here, unless you don't have that tool. Because this one right here is a 6mm and this one right is a 10mm. So not everyone has a 10mm Allen head. So if you don't have that, you might do it. The spinning the wheel method. So yeah, so that's it. Thanks for watching.